I see you have arrived back to the campfire site. Hello, everyone. Today, we're gonna be reading The Rake. And just before I forget, there you go. Oh, you can barely see that. 1 second, let me fix that. There we go. Had to turn the opacity up just a little bit. So, we're gonna stop the horror music. Now, y'all remember when I read Jeff the Killer, poorly might I add, and it was certainly something. It was certainly something. But today we're reading The Rake. As the sun begins to set and the trees huddle together in a small... Oh wait, I read that wrong. Here we go again. As the sun begins to set and trees huddle together in small dark groups as if shielding themselves against the coming of night, you step quietly and quickly through the carpet of fallen leaves and stray twigs, recognizing and noting as you do every rustle, every snap of a branch created by your own footfalls. You note them so that you can distinguish them from other sounds. The soft rustling of leaves, the crack of bracken somewhere behind you. You increase your speed knowing that... Wait, hold on. You increase your speed knowing that night is not the only thing drawing closer. The sound increases as your pace and heartbeats quicken. You turn and in the fading light, catch a single glimpse of the hunched, crawling thing that is pursuing you. Creeping forward like an animal, yet looking so horribly human. You only caught a single glimpse, but then you start to run. One glimpse is enough. This is from a witness back in 2006. Just so you know, a quick disclaimer, this has been going on for quite a while, according to the story, since as far back as 1691, which reads, and by the way, the file is called A Mariner's Log, 1691. He came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed, I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. Why would we want to do that? We shall not return here again at the request of the Rake. Wait, so the Rake requested that you don't return there. He's like, hey, I'm sorry to bother you tonight, but can you not come back here tomorrow? Like, just go back to wherever you came from. Like, for real. From a witness, 2006. 3 years ago, I had just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July. We were all exhausted after a long day of driving, so my husband and I put the kids right to bed and called it a night. At about 4 a.m., I woke up thinking my husband had gotten up to use the restroom. I used the moment to steal back the sheets only to wake him in the process. I apologized and I told him I thought he got out of bed. When he turned to face me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed. Quickly, his knee almost knocked me off the bed. That's one heck of a kneecap. He then grabbed me and said nothing. After adjusting to the dark for half a second, I was able to see what caused the strange reaction. At the foot of the bed, sitting and facing away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man or a large hairless dog of some sort. So it could have been the next door neighbor who is a nudist, or it could have been the chupacabra. Its body position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something. For some reason, I was not instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhat under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. My husband was peering over his arm and knee, tucked into the fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed and then crawled quickly in a flailing sort of motion right along the bed until it was less than a foot from my husband's face. The creature was completely silent for about 30 seconds, or probably closer to 5. It just seemed like a while. Just looking at my husband, the creature then placed its hand on his knee and ran into the hallway leading to the kids' rooms. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got to the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouching and hunched over about 20 feet away. How long is that freaking corridor? Holy hell. He turned around and looked directly at me, covered in blood. I flipped the switch on the wall and saw my daughter Clara. The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help our daughter. She was very badly injured and spoke only once in her short life. She said, He is the rake. Wait, what? Hold on. Hold the horses right there. Disclaimer. Very heavy topics up ahead. Like, earlier today, when I was scrolling through the story, I saw that it had some, really heavy topics. So, quick disclaimer, I'm just going to skip past this part. Being a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, and the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town over who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. So he went on Tinder. Okay, good to know. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature, now referred to as the Rake. I feel like this is describing an orgy about to happen. It took the 4 of us, I'm sure it did, about 2 solid years of hunting on the internet and writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believe to be accounts of the Rake. None of them gave any details, history, or follow-up. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages, and never mentioned it again. A ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only that they were told to leave by the Rake. That was the last entry in the log. So, going back to when the creature said to leave and never come back. So, okay, I get you. There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit was one of a series of visits with the same person. Multiple people also mentioned being spoken to, my daughter included. This led us to wonder if the Rake had visited any of us before our last encounter. I set up a digital recorder next to my bed and left it running all night. Every night for 2 weeks, I would tediously scan through the sounds of me rolling around in my bed each day. When I woke up by the end of the 2nd week, I was quite used to the occasional sound of sleep while blurring through the recording at 8 times the normal speed. This still took almost an hour every day. On the first day of the 3rd week, my true love said to me, sorry, I had to make that reference. On the first day of the 3rd week, I thought I heard something different. What I found was a shrill voice. It was the Rake. I can't listen to it long enough to even begin to transcribe it. I haven't let anyone listen to it yet. All I know is that I've heard it before, and now I believe that it spoke when it was sitting in front of my husband. I don't remember hearing anything at the time, but for some reason the voice on the recorder immediately brings me back to that moment. The thoughts that have gone through my daughter's head made me very upset. I have not seen the Rake since he ruined my life, but I know that he has been in my room while I slept. I know and fear that one night I'll wake up to see him staring at me. Story by Brian Somerville. And there's more stuff written about the Rake, but that was one of the stories. And what I glossed over was a key detail that had to do with very heavy topics. That's all I'm gonna say in regards to that.